New at 6, a live report on the Washington soldier accused of trying to pass secrets to Al-Qaeda. We'll take you to his hometown, Everett, to get reaction from people who knew him. Also at 6, the newest Blazers have hardly unpacked, and already their teammates are grumbling about not getting enough playing time. Colin with that, new at 6.
Tomorrow, of course, Valentine's Day, and even the animals at the zoo are celebrating. The sea otters were pretty excited about their heart-shaped ice treats. There's Thelma trying to get to the fish in the middle. And the elephants and swamp monkeys got heart-shaped boxes that once held chocolate, but zookeepers filled them with fruit and vegetables. At first, the monkeys weren't quite sure what to do with those funny red-looking things, but curiosity got the better of them eventually.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. True love. Dig into the chocolate. Next on Nightly News, look at hundreds of documents released today to clear up questions about President Bush's service with the National Guard.
Plus, suspected terrorists at Guantanamo Bay will soon be able to appeal their detention.
We'll see you back here at 6 o'clock. Right now, here's Nightly News.
Military service. The White House releases the president's military and medical records, and a former Alabama National Guard officer says he remembers Lieutenant Bush. The case for war. Remember Secretary Powell's case against Saddam? The CIA now questions the credibility of key sources of intelligence. The war on terror, Tom Brokaw in Pakistan, on the thousands of religious schools indoctrinating Muslim children for holy war. Is change possible? And safety first, advances in safety for race cars that could make driving safer for America's family cars.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Substituting tonight and reporting from Los Angeles, Brian Williams.
Good evening. There's a long tradition in Washington of releasing any potentially sensitive information late on a Friday afternoon for the often ignored Saturday papers and as Americans head into the weekend. With that said, the Bush White House a short time ago released hundreds of pages of documents in an attempt to stop the relentless questions over the president's service record while he was in the National Guard. We begin tonight with a late report from NBC's David Gregory at the White House for us. David, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. And from the White House tonight, a developing story. The White House is now just announcing that President Bush has decided to have a private meeting with the 9/11 Commission investigating the deadly attacks on New York and Washington, a major development since the 9/11 Commission had requested a meeting with both the president and vice president and their potential testimony. Officials only saying now that this will be a private meeting, and they're still working out details as to whether this will be under oath. But one official telling NBC News tonight, regardless, the president plans to tell the truth. Now to the other story on the National Guard. It is a huge release from the White House, more than 400 pages. Officials say this is the complete medical and personnel file of the president from his service with the National Guard. White House officials saying they just got the file together, and that's why they are releasing it so late in the day. They also claim there's nothing new here. We're still reviewing it, but they wanted it out to prove, they say, that the president has nothing to hide with regard to his service in the Guard.
Tonight's disclosure caps a week of White House damage control over the president's military record. It began last Sunday on Meet the Press when Mr. Bush promised to offer proof of his service in the National Guard.
But you authorize release of everything to settle this.
Absolutely.
The key question, whether then Lieutenant Bush showed up for required duty between May of 1972 and May of 1973. That's when political opponents like the Democratic Party Chairman Terry McAuliffe accused the president of being, quote, AWOL. During much of that period, Mr. Bush was on temporary duty in Alabama after he transferred from a fighter jet squadron in Texas to work on a Senate campaign. This week, the White House produced never-before-seen military records, which officials claim proves Mr. Bush received pay and point credit for at least some of the days in question in Alabama. Yesterday, a new dental record placing Mr. Bush at Danley Field in Montgomery in January of 1973. With all that, critics raised more questions. Why couldn't the White House produce a witness who served with Mr. Bush? Today, John Calhoun, who was an officer with the Alabama Air National Guard, says he remembers a young George Bush back in the summer of 1972 doing administrative duty on weekends.
The only thing I can testify to is what I know, and the fact that he came there in like I said, in May or June, he stayed 5 to 6 months. He made drill with me every drill for each of those months.
White House officials insist they didn't put Calhoun up to coming forward, saying he contacted Republican officials in Atlanta. They also concede his memory may be off, since the very payroll records the White House released this week show that Mr. Bush didn't get any credit or pay for guard duty when Calhoun says Mr. Bush was there.
Besides that, at least a dozen former guardsmen who served in Alabama when Mr. Bush was there also do not remember him. Brian?
David Gregory at the White House for us tonight. Thanks. On the presidential campaign trail in Wisconsin today, Democrat John Kerry won the endorsement of fellow veteran and former rival Wesley Clark. Their joint appearance was peppered with military banter, the retired 4-star Army general asking the former Navy lieutenant for permission to come aboard. Clark dropped out of the race Wednesday after placing third in Virginia and Tennessee. By the way, Kerry's answer to Clark's request was a hearty welcome aboard. Another issue not likely to go away in this election year, the case for war with Iraq, and in particular those claims that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. Tonight, the CIA is questioning the credibility of some of its own key sources. Here with that, NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent Andrea Mitchell.
The CIA is now questioning the claims of all 4 Iraqi defectors who said mobile laboratories like this one were designed to produce biological warfare agents. As first reported by Newsweek, the re-examination goes beyond CIA Director George Tenet's admission last week that one defector had fabricated intelligence.
We are finding discrepancies in some claims made by human sources.
How did the CIA get fooled? NBC News has learned new details. One defector was referred by civilians working for Deputy Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz. They got him from Iraqi exile leader Ahmed Shalabi, who was lobbying hard for the U.S. to topple Saddam Hussein. A senior U.S. official says Shalabi's group coached the defector to provide false information. The Pentagon's Defense Intelligence Agency warned that the defector could not be trusted. But the CIA admits it missed the warning. That's how Colin Powell ended up misinforming the world a year later at the UN.
An Iraqi major who defected confirmed that Iraq has mobile biological research laboratories.
Now officials say a second defector provided by Shalabi has also been discredited. 2 others are being re-examined.
There was a huge incentive on the part of that expatriate community to get the U.S. to go in militarily.
When U.S. troops got on the ground, they found vans that have since proved not to be for biological weapons. But even today, a CIA report from last May remains on the agency's website, claiming coalition forces have uncovered the strongest evidence to date that Iraq was hiding a biological warfare program. And the website still credits the same defectors who gave false intelligence.
They were going to feed us what they needed to feed us in order that they would end up running Iraq.
Yesterday, Powell was still defending the pre-war intelligence.
The president acted on good, solid information.
I don't doubt for a minute you acted on information. I don't think it was good and solid.
In a big change, the CIA will now tell their analysts the identities of spies to better judge whether they can be believed. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News at the State Department.
The Defense Department today acknowledged that a large number of the men rounded up by the U.S. in the war on terrorism and held under maximum security at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, could be held there for a very long time, perhaps indefinitely, and they quickly added, for good reason. Here is NBC's Jim Miklaszewski at the Pentagon.
Under increasing international criticism and nagging legal questions over the detention of prisoners at Guantanamo Bay, the Bush administration today fired back, strongly arguing that most of these detainees should remain locked up, some of the hardest cases perhaps indefinitely.
We remain in an active war with al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and its affiliated terrorist organizations.
In a speech in Miami, Defense Secretary Rumsfeld emphasized the detainees captured in Afghanistan still present a real threat to Americans.
What we think about is keeping them off the battlefield so they can't go out and kill more people.
Pentagon officials also claim some prisoners are still providing interrogators critical information.
The golden threads of intelligence that help us understand the al-Qaeda network and to help us defend ourselves against them.
Today, more than 670 detainees are held at Guantanamo from 44 countries, many as long as 2 years. In an effort to prove the prisoners are being treated humanely, the Pentagon recently released this tape showing detainees at exercise, receiving, quote, culturally sensitive meals and medical attention. But critics claim these detainees are being deprived of the most basic legal rights.
Completely outside the law. There's been no hearings or no trials to determine whether people should be there.
And no access to legal counsel. The Bush administration argues, however, that in this case, civilian laws do not apply.
They are not provided counsel because the laws that apply here are the laws of war.
But in one of the few concessions, a Pentagon panel will review each prisoner's case once a year, much like a parole board, to determine if they should be released. The Pentagon's preparing to try some of the detainees before a military tribunal. The first of those trials could be held within the next 2 to 3 months. Jim Miklaszewski, NBC News, the Pentagon.
Now to one of the front lines in the war on terrorism, and Tom Brokaw in Kabul, Afghanistan tonight. Tom.
Thanks, Brian. One of the common concerns of Afghanistan and Pakistan is the education of the next generation. To see to it that the boys and girls of both countries get a mainstream education, that they're not just influenced by radical Islamic mullahs. In modern Pakistan, there's a desperate shortage of educated people to deal with illiteracy, poverty, health care, and other fundamental needs. But these young men graduating from a madrasa were taught only one subject, Islam, often with a radical point of view.
The way they teach this whole notion of holy war, and this sinks into these young minds very early on. You know, you're talking about little children.
Pakistan's President Musharraf is determined to reform the madrasas. He got the Pakistan parliament to vote $100 million to broaden the curriculum, but now it's a question of whether the religious teachers will cooperate.
Without jobs, without economic activity, without economic growth, the madrasas actually turn out these young kids that have no place to go, no future, and that's very dangerous.
It's a massive undertaking. There are an estimated 8,000 to 10,000 madrasas in Pakistan, and many provide room and board, even clothing. This madrasa near Peshawar in western Pakistan is an example of how isolated and insulated the youngsters are. 25 young boys living here, getting 2 meals a day, and spending virtually all of their time memorizing verses from the Quran. We showed them a video of the 9/11 attacks. They had never heard of them. The images seemed to frighten them, and their teacher, Abdul Rahman, insisted 9/11 had nothing to do with a true Muslim.
An act like this is totally forbidden in our religion.
But the Islamic concept of jihad, or a holy war, is a part of the faith, and some prominent Pakistani Muslims don't want that removed. But how to balance it? This school northwest of Islamabad is a model for what the government is trying to do. It's a poor neighborhood. 90% of the parents are uneducated, and yet their children are able to get the fundamentals of a mainstream education, grades 1 through 5. The school has textbooks, blackboards, a playground financed with U.S. aid, and a principal, Rahena Kasur, from the neighborhood, the first of 7 girls in her family to be educated. But there's no school lunch program, not even indoor plumbing. 2 years ago, the Pakistani government tried to estimate how many schools it would take to handle the 8 million kids of primary age not in class now.
The numbers that came up was 8,500 primary schools. That's the kind of numbers that we needed 2 years earlier, I'm talking about. They can become 10,000 in 2004. They may be more.
Pakistan has so many problems on so many fronts, but nothing is more important to its future than the education of its children, boys and girls. And nothing is as important to the rest of the world as the kind of education these millions of young Pakistanis receive.
The education of Afghan and Pakistan children would seem to be an obvious project for the United States, but political leaders in both these countries worry that radical Islamic leaders would then charge that the United States is trying to force an American point of view on the next generation here in the subcontinent. Brian?
Tom, thanks. Also from Afghanistan tonight, word of the death of an as-yet unidentified American soldier killed in a mine explosion, which also wounded 9 soldiers, and another U.S. soldier was killed today in Iraq in an explosion west of Baghdad. Up next, as we continue this Friday night NBC News In Depth, the Vietnam War and how it still divides America decades later. Later on, NASCAR's back, and it's safer. Major improvements on the track that will make your car safer as well.
I don't let pain interfere with my life. When I'm working with the kids and my knees hurt, I take genuine Bayer aspirin. Bayer stops the pain. Bayer works great on all kinds of pain. And it can do even more. Genuine Bayer aspirin can help save your life when taken during a heart attack. No other pain reliever can do so much. Not Advil, not Tylenol. I've made Bayer a part of my life, so I can live my life.
Bayer, take it for pain, take it for life.
Our son was born with liver disease. He had heart surgery when he was 3 months old, and he had his liver transplant when he was 7 months old. It's nice to know that I work for a company that would take care of everything we went through with my son. You can think of the Mayo Clinic, you know. It's the best place they could have found. I don't think people know how great the benefits are at Walmart. Without Walmart, he wouldn't. I don't know that he'd made it. I don't know that we would have made it.
Can I ask you something? You're really enjoying your fiber? It's important, you know. Fiber. $5 says you guys haven't had any really good fiber lately. Got anything of a fibrous nature in there that might actually taste good? Tempt me with fiber. You're kidding, right? Don't fear the fiber! This is what you want, my friend. Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Crunchy, right? Sweet. And one serving has almost 25% of the fiber you need in a day. Kellogg's Frosted Mini Wheats. Fiber. Nice.
The Hyundai Sonata makes more sense than ever. Once again ranked most appealing entry midsize car by J.D. Power & Associates. It's $3,700 less than a Toyota Camry LE when comparably equipped. Not to mention, only Hyundai has America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. And the Sonata's loaded with standard features. Test drive the 2004 Hyundai Sonata starting at just $16,539. When your car makes this much sense, you win.
Friday, a wife found dead, her husband accused of murder. But did a death like this happen before? An explosive Dateline Court TV exclusive, tonight on NBC.
NBC News In Depth tonight. The Vietnam War still very much with us to this day, almost half a century later. It was an undeclared and eventually unpopular war that produced heroes and villains on the battlefield and back here at home. The question, how much does it matter now? What young people did back then, whether they served or not, and where? What if they later go on to run for president? Here is NBC's Bob Faw.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
And maybe there isn't. 40 years later, Vietnam and all it represents still intrudes and divides. The killing fields where 58,000 Americans died, another 130,000 were wounded. For some, a just cause, a matter of duty. For others, pure evil.
Was a great fault line in our politics and our culture, and in many respects the political divides in this country, especially the divisions over foreign policy, go back to Vietnam.
With bitter division now over who went to Vietnam and who didn't. President Bush, dogged by his service in the National Guard in Texas and Alabama, and John Kerry, who fought, winning bronze and silver stars and 3 Purple Hearts, now often surrounded by Vietnam vets.
Peace now! Peace now!
But what Kerry did after the war, denouncing it, even appearing with the anti-war activist derisively dubbed Hanoi Jane, won't go away either. The conservative weekly National Review concluding, quote, John Kerry helped to slander a generation of soldiers.
Tarring them as committers of atrocities, rapists, murderers.
An issue now, too, because questions raised in Vietnam are also raised by Iraq. Is it a quagmire? Do all problems have military solutions? Questions raised in a documentary about Vietnam and former Defense Secretary Robert McNamara by filmmaker Errol Morris.
History has made Vietnam an issue because it seems as though we are repeating the mistakes of the past all over again.
4 decades later at the Vietnam Memorial, a legacy endures.
I saw death for the first time, and it was an eye-opening experience. It grew me up.
And so the beat goes on.
I can't get no relief.
Then and now. Bob Faw, NBC News, Washington.
Up next, as we continue, opponents go to court to stop gay wedding ceremonies in San Francisco. And later, what safety changes at this weekend's Daytona 500 could mean for you.
This is Model T20. He has cancer. This is Curious 901. She has cancer too. This is Malcolm W. His wife has cancer. This is the Cancer Survivors Network, a place where people can get together online to share information, get support, and get hope. This is the American Cancer Society. This is where to go for help.
Got gas, pressure, bloating? Tums doesn't treat gas, neither does Pepto-Bismol. To treat gas, use Gas X for fast, powerful relief.
Popcorn?
Gas X beats the bloat, and acids don't.
Forward and reverse parking sensors. Just one of the many innovative features available in the all-new Mercury Monterey. A simple-to-use fold-flat third-row seat. Just one of the many innovative features available in the all-new Mercury Monterey.
Disciplined investing. It's not about following the crowd. At T. Rowe Price, our independent research means we're not deceived by every market ripple, and we don't chase every fad. Over 65% of our mutual funds beat their 1, 5, and 10-year Lipper averages. We have the experience to know what works and the insight to find real opportunity. Low-cost mutual funds from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence.
In all this world, there's only one orange juice proven to help lower cholesterol. Only one with added cholesterol reducers. Introducing Minute Maid Heartwise for your one and only heart.
A family barbecue, Pollen?
Yeah, Ragweed, watch how fast their allergy medicines stop working. His Benadryl allergy only lasted 6 hours. Same with her Tylenol severe allergy.
His Allegra 180 still working. It lasts 4 times longer.
One dose of most seasonal allergy medicines doesn't work as long as you want, but just one Allegra 180 lasts up to 4 times longer than most OTC allergy medicines.
His Allegra 180s worked all day.
For people 12 and over, side effects alone may include headache, cold, or backache.
Allegra 180 works all night, too.
Long-lasting Allegra. The relief goes on.
Sunday, decision 2004. It looks like a Kerry versus Bush race. RNC Chair Gillespie and Democrat Rangel square off. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Here in California today, opponents of gay marriage went to court to stop San Francisco immediately from issuing more marriage licenses to same-sex couples. A judge said no. Hundreds of gay couples have rushed to get their licenses and recite their vows at City Hall before the courts get involved. All of this with the blessing of the mayor and other city officials. In Massachusetts, meanwhile, a constitutional convention on the gay marriage issue ended in a stalemate last night. Lawmakers say they'll go back at it next month. America's trade deficit ballooned to an all-time high last year as U.S. consumers bought foreign-made cars, clothing, TV sets in huge and record numbers. The total deficit was just under $490 billion. That's up 17% from the year before. That stat and a shaky new report on consumer confidence helped to push stocks lower. Dow was down more than 66 points. NASDAQ was down 20 for the week. The Dow had a gain of almost 35. The NASDAQ was down overall 10.5 points on the week. We're back in a moment with safety on a fast track.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Brought to you in part by Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Poppy seed, actual size. Poppy seed is seen by denture wearer. Popcorn kernel, actual size.
popcorn kernel is seen by a denture wearer. To a denture wearer, even something very small stuck under dentures becomes a huge problem. That's why there's Fix-It Complete. It forms a bond so strong it's clinically tested to help block out annoying food particles. So go nuts. Fix-It Complete and forget it.
Every coach knows the ability to stay in the game is what counts. So if you want to stay in the game, don't let anything hold you back. Take action to stay in the game. Ask about Levitra.
Ask your doctor if a free sample is right for you. Levitra, stay in the game.
Do what I did. Ask your doctor about Levitra. Levitra works for me. See if it'll work for you.
The Hyundai Sonata makes more sense than ever. Once again ranked most appealing entry midsize car by J.D. Power and Associates. It's $3,700 less than a Toyota Camry LE when comparably equipped. Not to mention, only Hyundai has America's best warranty. 10 years, 100,000 miles. And the Sonata's loaded with standard features. Test drive the 2004 Hyundai Sonata starting at just $16,539. When your car makes this much sense, you win.
With Celebrex, I will no longer give in to the joint pain of osteoarthritis. With Celebrex, I will not stop at 9 when I really want to play 18.
These are just a few of the 23 million people who have discovered Celebrex. Celebrex's proven strength. In fact, doctors prescribe Celebrex more than any other brand. Just one Celebrex provides up to 24 hours of relief from the pain of osteoarthritis. One pill, 24 hours.
With Celebrex, I will not settle for part-time relief.
Celebrex should not be taken if you've had aspirin-sensitive asthma or allergic reactions due to aspirin or other arthritis medicines or certain drugs called sulfonamides. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have kidney or liver problems.
If you're struggling with joint pain, maybe you should stop trying to manage it by yourself. Ask your doctor about Celebrex. Take control of your joint pain with the proven strength of Celebrex.
With Celebrex, I will not give in.
Tonight at 6, a case of human smuggling uncovered near Portland. 5 Chinese stowaways found on board a cargo ship. Plus, Oregon's governor back from Iraq and talking with the president. And tonight at 6:30, 3 Washington mountain climbers killed in an avalanche. Tonight on News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
It's the biggest event of the year and the fastest growing spectator sport in the nation. It's the Daytona 500 this Sunday. 43 cars, speeds approaching 200 miles an hour, and a lingering fear of what's called the big one, a colossal wreck on the track. But the chances are greater than ever that a driver can walk away from the big one because of some lightning fast advances in safety in all types of racing. NBC's Roger O'Neill reports from Daytona, Florida tonight.
It was a crash so violent, Kenny Brack's race car disintegrated, except for the driver's compartment. Elliott Sadler wrecked at 192 miles an hour.
We flipped 9 times down the back straightaway.
More spectacular than either crash, though, both drivers survived.
To be able to walk away from a wreck like that was pretty neat.
And it wasn't just dumb luck. In the 2 years since racing's darkest day, the death of legendary driver Dale Earnhardt, safety, not speed, gets NASCAR's attention. The 43 drivers starting Sunday's Daytona 500 will be in a cocoon of improved safety belts, braces, and restraints. They'll breathe filtered air. If there's fire, automatic extinguishers. Michael Waltrip won the 500 last year.
I feel safer in my race car than I ever had before. When I buckle in, I've got everything and more. Here comes the hatch.
Waltrip started what first looked like a gimmick, but soon to be required for all drivers, an escape hatch. Another safety improvement coming here this summer, new safe barriers, so-called soft walls. At Indianapolis first, all tracks soon. Whatever cushions the blow, from honeycomb beehive-looking metals to aluminum blocks of foam, and a brand new still secret crushable steel gets top priority at NASCAR's R&D Center. Director Gary Nelson.
You want to make sure that from the very first millisecond of contact that you're absorbing energy.
Drivers at the Daytona 500 this weekend will reach speeds in excess of 180 miles an hour. While you and I will never approach that in everyday traffic, There is a safety connection between the race car and the passenger car.
From non-locking ABS brakes to spoilers for better handling. John Fernandez from Dodge.
Front airbags to side airbags to the shape of this seat to protect the occupant. That all came from things that we learned in motorsports.
Well, every driver here says he feels safer in a race car than a passenger car. At 190 miles an hour, safety is a moving target. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Daytona.
By the way, NBC Sports coverage of the Daytona 500 begins at noon this coming Sunday. And that is Nightly News for this Friday evening. I'm Brian Williams. Reporting tonight from Los Angeles, Tom Brokaw will be back on Monday. Have a good weekend. Good night.
They'll get smuggled on board in a foreign port.
Stowaways smuggled from China to the Northwest aboard this foreign vessel. Find out how they survived the long journey. Also at 6.
Trying to hear that he's gone right now when he was supposed to be coming back.
Another Oregon soldier is killed while fighting in Iraq, killed just weeks before he was to return home. Plus in Washington, new insight into the National Guardsman arrested for trying to pass secrets to Al-Qaeda. A live report from his hometown in Everett. All next at 6.
From KGW.